If you're new to car financing, then you've probably heard of these terms: residual value, balloon payments, settlements, and shortfalls. What do they mean? Well, let's find out. Just a disclaimer, I'm not going to get into the legalities of what your contract says. All I'm going to do is just to explain it in layman terms, just for everyone to understand. So let's get into it. Residual value or balloon payment. I'm sure you've heard the term every now and again. So pretty much this term, it means the same thing. What is it? A residual value is actually a portion of the total finance amount, which is then set aside for you to pay it later on. How does it work? Let's assume you're buying a car for 100 Rand. I'm going to use simple money here. So you're purchasing this car, it's 100 Rand, and then the bank comes to you and they say the installment on that car is going to be 2 Rand. And then you come to the bank, you're like, yes, see, I cannot afford 2 Rand. I actually want to pay 170. Then the bank will be like, no problem. Please keep in mind, you are still purchasing this car for 100 Rand. But what we're going to do, in order for us to accommodate you, we are going to take 30 Rand out of this 100 Rand and set it aside for you to pay it later on. And therefore, you will then be able to qualify to pay 1 Rand and 70 cents. Are you happy, Mr. Customer? Yes, I'm happy, guys. Cheers. So when do you ask for a balloon payment, or when are there mitigating circumstances for you to qualify for a balloon payment? So the first one is you like the car, but you simply cannot afford the car. Yes, I know some of you might say, why buy it if you cannot afford it? Yes, sometimes this is the car, this is the only car you want, especially in the used market. You see it, that's the only one, there's no other one in the country. So if you see it, best you pull the trigger. So now the bank comes and says, right, your installment is going to be 2 Rand. Then that's when you come to the bank and you say, please give me my options. If I take probably a residual value, so remember, this residual value is calculated on percentages or amounts. So let's say, for example, you're buying a car for 100 Rand. I know there is no car for 100 Rand, but you're buying a car for 100 Rand. Out of that 100 Rand, they're going to take 30 Rand, put it aside. That's pretty much about 30%. So you as the viewer or buyer, you then have the choice of saying, okay, I can either take a 10%, a 20%, or a 30% residual. It actually depends on what is it that you can afford. You guys don't agree on the time period as to say, this is when I'm going to finish off the residual. You will only get notified, or you will then make arrangements to the bank and say, guys, I still know that I need to pay you such an amount. The danger there, I always say the danger, because everything has pros and cons. So the danger that comes in there is, if you remember, you're buying this car for 100 Rand. And in this 100 Rand, when you sign for the contract, everything, including the interest, is then calculated. Perfect. Now, when you're purchasing the car with the residual, you still bought the car with the 100 Rand. And then they are now charging you interest accordingly. But therefore, the 30 Rand, they put it aside just to make it easier for you to pay. Now, here's where they catch you. Let's assume 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, now you want to pay for this residual value. And then it appears that your credit score, yes, I do mean your credit score, because if you want to refinance, that's why they always say refinance. The sales guy will always tell you you'll be able to refinance it at the end of the term. The finance lady, when you sign your contract, they always say you'll be able to refinance it when the term comes. So when you refinance this thing, your credit score must be in check, because they then still do another application for you to then be able to pay them in that 30 cents margin. If you do not get that finance, you then pay them cash. Be careful how much residual you take. For example, if I'm to take a 30% residual on a 1 million Rand car, for example, that's going to be 300,000 Rand. Now, should the going get tough, my credit score dips a bit, and I'm no longer able to refinance that portion of the residual, what then happens? Will I have the 300,000 to just bump out and pay? No. What can you do if you've already taken a residual? It's not the end of the world. First things first, please try to make additional payments to your bank. When I say additional payments, if your installment is 1.70 Rand, for example, then try to put in that extra 30 cents. It really goes a long way, especially even if you don't have a residual. When you put in that extra 30 cents, it also reduces the term of your contract. When you take those additional payments and also put them towards your residual. Yes, I did say it. You can start paying towards your residual every now and again, from year one, in fact. Yeah, pretty much from year one. Let's assume you're one of those people who get a 13 check in December, that extra money, you take it, put it in their account, phone the bank, and tell them to allocate it towards your residual. Now, you'll find that by the time that the contract ends on your car, you've also cashed up on the residual and you have no worries. So it's not really a bad situation. It's something that helps everybody out. So research, research, research. I hope I've explained it clearly. Settlement quotation. What is it? So pretty much a settlement is a reduced amount on what you owe on the car versus your capital amount. So if you look at your statement that you get from the bank, you'll have a column there that says outstanding capital. That's the actual amount of money that you are going to pay over the term of the car. And then you will have a settlement amount, and that's the amount. Should you wish to pay off your account today, you can pretty much pay them that amount, and then the car is yours. When to ask for a settlement? Well, you can ask for a settlement letter after 6 months you've started the contract. Reasons could be you want to settle the debt, or you want to upgrade to another vehicle. Shortfall, as the name says it itself, it's pretty much the difference in what you owe the bank versus what your car is worth. Remember, every car has a value, and when you get to the dealership, they assess your car and they give you a value accordingly. Now, that value versus your settlement amount, and if it happens that you are still short to pay off the car, that is then called the shortfall. But if it then happens that the money that you are getting is over than the settlement, then that's called a deposit. Pretty much money that you're getting back into your pocket, or money that you can use towards your next purchase. Let's talk about events that can cause you to have a shortfall. So some of them could be an accident, or you want to sell your car, or your car was stolen. In that instance, you will then have some form of shortfall towards your bank. In an instance where you want to purchase a new car, that shortfall can be added towards your new purchase. In an event that your car is stolen or written off, I'll then suggest that you have what's called credit shortfall. Credit shortfall will then cover the difference of what you owe the bank versus your car's value. If you're enjoying the content, follow, leave a comment. Let's educate one another. Cheers.